Anthony Fauci, who continues to invoke his Fifth Amendment right. He has not answered one question, not one. Miranda Devine, her new column is out, and the title is Anthony Fauci was the, quote, big head of COVID response. We heard about this yesterday. Ron Johnson on Fox News talking about how Fauci would love the fact that all these politicians, losers like Gavin Newsom and Bill de Blasio would, take him seriously. He became a fan of all the celebrities. He became a huge celebrity himself. He loved that. He's evil. Here she is, Miranda Devine. Miranda, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. I'm well. I'm just shaking my head about Fauci's performance right now in Washington. And, you said his lawyer was just thrown out. The lawyer, honestly, grandstanding and then taking his time to pack his stuff into his suitcase, making a big deal about it. And Rand Paul just said that Anthony Fauci has brought half a dozen lawyers along. Who's paying for that?
That's a very good question. We are, and there are half a dozen, which means there are still 5 sitting in that chamber somewhere next to Fauci. And I'm surprised. I really did think that he would answer at least some of these questions. I didn't speak to anybody the last couple of days that wasn't looking forward to a back and forth between Rand Paul and Anthony Fauci. So I must say, I'm a bit surprised. Are you?
I thought it was 50-50 that he would do that. And, Rand Paul, who's been absolutely stalwart and fantastic, unflinching as a chairman. You don't often see that with these Republicans. They're usually too nice. But he's quite happy not to be a nice guy. And he has told Anthony Fauci that it is illegal. It is a crime for him to appear and refuse to answer questions when he has been given a pardon. So I don't know. He said he'll take it further. Fauci doesn't care. He's such a narcissist. He's sitting there. He's reveling in the attention. And he still has his sycophants and his sucker-uppers in the media who are running cover for him.
He really does. And, yes, he was pardoned by Biden. So it is illegal. Rand Paul is right. But part of the problem is, I've heard this 100 times today and yesterday, is that people are frustrated because there are never repercussions. We put these people on the Hill all the time. Some of them are really bad people. They've done really bad things. A lot of people died because of Anthony Fauci. But there never seems to be any real repercussions. Isn't that right, Miranda?
Yeah, it's certainly the way it seems. Look, various Republican chairmen, people like James Comer and so on, they get frustrated as well, and the media is frustrating, and we are frustrated with them. But it is, they keep pointing out that really Congress is not where you're going to have those kinds of, repercussions for people. It's really just a body that investigates and tries to bring transparency to an issue, and then it's up to the Department of Justice. And, the DOJ has shown zero interest. It's now 6 years on since COVID started, and no interest in bringing Anthony Fauci to book. So I think that's why Rand Paul is doing, within the bounds of his power, the best he can to try and set up a perjury trap for Fauci, because Fauci has lied about absolutely everything. Bobby Kennedy Jr. was correct yesterday when he said that. You can see from his diaries, apart from the fact that he's a total narcissist and vain and boasting and, celebrity whore, fame whore. He also said things in his diary that were completely at odds to what he was saying in public. Like, he knew very early on that the virus did not emanate from a wet market in Wuhan, that it came from the lab where he had funded secretly that dangerous gain-of-function research, outsourced it to China. And yet in public he's saying, oh, no, there's no evidence, and he was ginning up these scientists, many of whom owed him because he gave them government grants, these scientists wrote a bogus scientific paper saying that it didn't come from the lab, that it most likely came from a pangolin or some sort of animal, some sort of natural origin. And that was a total lie. And he pretended that this was nothing to do with him when emails show behind the scenes. He's there orchestrating it. He also orchestrated, as we found out from a CIA whistleblower, getting the intelligence community, including the FBI, briefed by his pet scientists so that the lie set in. He got away with literal mass murder.
Yeah, he really did. And then he compounded it by the vaccines. And Ron Johnson has done a very good job of pointing out just how dangerous medically these vaccines have been, and then turning a whole generation of our kids into morons. Making sure these kids never went to school with the help of more terrible people like Randy Weingarten and Michael Mulgrew. So, A, he lied. B, he knew all about the real origins of this virus. So people were dying, and then he compounded the problem by what he did afterwards, right?
The lockdowns, everything he did, the masks, the lockdowns, the vaccines, the cover-up, the coronavirus research he funded, all of it was just one disaster after another. And, there's one section from I concentrated on his Vanity because I think it's so destructive to his everlasting reputation. But there's lines in there where he says, I spoke with Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, and convinced him to close the New York City schools. I also told him he should close the bars and restaurants in New York. He said that he would base this on my recommendation. And then there's another one that shows how callous, really sociopathic callousness and lack of empathy. He writes on March 15, 2020, big day, USA equals 2,888 cases with 58 deaths. I did all 5 Sunday shows today. Right. My third Fauci 5. Right. This week on ABC, NBC, CBS, blah, blah. I mean, it was all about his media profile. It was all about celebrities like Barbara Streisand and Julia Roberts saying he's their personal hero. That's what his diary is all about while people are dying.
Terrible. And I read your column. You mentioned Orlando Bloom and Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, Amy Poehler. What a bunch of losers. Lily Tomlin, Sophia Bush, Matt Bacani, I kind of like. I'm
Matthew
not going to lie to you.
McConaughey.
Yeah, I like him. Steve Buscemi, Magic Johnson, Joan Baez. So do you think some of these people have actually now turned around and said, you know what, maybe I don't like this guy so much? Or do you think that these people remain steadfast in their support?
I think that they take their cues from the media that they consume. And I think one metric says it all. Media Research Centre showed that CBS was the only one of the 5 networks that carried anything about the diary. They decided to do a blackout on Fauci's diary.
Is that right?
They had built him up as a saint. Yep,
wow.
According to the Media Research Centre. Only CBS. And look...
And by the way, let me point this out. It was only CBS also carried Trump's speech 2 weeks ago.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Of course.
Yes.
Because Barry Weiss is there, and that's why they hate Barry Weiss.
Right.
I mean, she's not turning it into a conservative bastion.
Not yet.
She's just opening it up. I mean, she's not a right-winger.
No,
She's just being honest.
Right. So CBS in both cases, Fauci and airing the Trump thing, is the only network that came up big. And what were we going to say about the New York Times? Them too?
The New York Times wrote a piece, utterly dishonest, hosing down the Fauci stuff and pretending that somehow Rand Paul had done something really untoward by releasing the personal, private diaries of Anthony Fauci. And as Bobby Kennedy Jr. pointed out, that's totally dishonest and incredibly sloppy work by the New York Times, because this is a government piece of information. These are diary entries that Fauci made in work time on a government computer that Kennedy and his staff spent 8 months scouring 11 servers to dig it up where it had been secreted and deleted and hidden away. Fauci thought no one would find it. He put a lot of this stuff in his totally self-congratulatory autobiography, which just read like a total vainglorious love letter to himself. But it's just like his diary. But that was presumably why he did it, just to remind himself. He loves it. Like, even now you can see him sitting there pleading the fifth, and he's got his little fan base around him. The diary shows all the media sycophants who, behind the scenes, Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, etc., were congratulating him because he was Trump deranged. And so the reason, I think, a big reason for his popularity, all the bobbleheads and the shrines to Anthony Fauci and the Fauci T-shirts and so on, all of that was the leftists who hated Donald Trump.
Yep.
And they saw Fauci as their best weapon against him. And he was. He really did a lot of damage to Donald Trump in 2020. And Trump was right and Fauci was wrong. But I guess it was too difficult. He was so powerful, Fauci, in the health realm. It was impossible, really, for even the president to go against him, at least at the beginning. In the end, it was just too late by the time Trump woke up.
There is one media member who's giving him the stink eye the whole time, and she's in every frame, and that's our friend Laura Ingraham. You can see her rolling her eyes, and she's looking like, I want to kill him. Great job by Laura. You know, a lot of people think that if the election wasn't rigged, okay, a lot of people believe it was, but if it wasn't rigged, the reason why Trump lost in 2020 was because of COVID. The country was doing great economically. We were killing it, and then it all fell apart. And Trump did the best he could, obviously, was given horrible advice by criminals like Anthony Fauci. But they do chalk it up to that. And I guess some are wondering, how vocal will Trump be about this? Now, Trump is mad at Bobby Kennedy. We know that because of the vaccines. He wants him to really, really do a whole rescheduling routine on those. He said that publicly. He's upset with Bobby Kennedy. But do you expect to hear more from Trump about Anthony Fauci's performance today?
Well, he did put out a truth this morning saying that, Fauci, he was onto him and that the damage that he did came primarily through Biden. And he says, I didn't know this, that he phoned Biden at the end of his presidency and warned him about Fauci, said he's a bad guy and he was wrong about everything. And he said Biden was receptive on the phone, but immediately sanctified Fauci. He'd also been talking to Fauci behind the scenes. That's evident in the diary that in 2020, Fauci boasts about how Joe and Jill Biden sent him notes and a cookie and a note and a cookie and said, please stay strong. You're doing such a great job. You're our personal hero. We need you. And there are other diary entries showing that he was helping Biden behind the scenes and pretending that he was not biased. And then, of course, Joe Biden made him his, White House medical advisor. And as Trump points out in this truth, more people died from the pandemic during Biden than had during Trump.
That's true.
And remember when Biden so disgustingly used to walk around, he could have in his top pocket during the campaign a number, a death toll. He would read it out lasciviously like it was, a campaign bon mot. He loved it, little amuse-bouche that he would use to make himself look great and Trump look terrible. And then, of course, when the death toll went up higher and higher under him, and he kept us locked down and destroyed the economy, he stopped talking about it. And the media organisations that used to have a rolling count, they dropped it as well. So it was just, like now, the media has not learned a lesson. They're still doing what they did before, burnishing Fauci, not allowing their stupid audience who just don't understand how they're being lied to, just letting them believe that Fauci's a hero and then it's just right-wing fascists that are being mean to him and demonising him.
Yeah, they call us conspiracy theories. Theorists, I should say, the ones that are coming down on Fauci. Conspiracy theorists. Wait a second, people died. Like a lot of people died. I don't know. Makes me a conspiracy theorist? I'm just going by the numbers. You're amazing, whether it's Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Anthony Fauci. If somebody out there is doing something wrong, I'm going to warn you right now. It's like Bibi. All right, if you're a terrorist, he's going to find you. He's going to kill you. If you're out there right now doing something wrong, Miranda Devine is going to find you. Then she's going to write about you. And it's always the truth. And then hopefully she'll ruin you. That's my hope. Miranda, you're great. I love you so much. I really do. Great job here. Thank you so much.
You too, Sid. So good to talk to you.
You too. God bless you. The best columnist anywhere in the world today. I mean that. New York Post, Miranda Devine. She's up on this. She's got it all. And this thing is still going on. But at this point, it's just like beating a dead body because he will not speak. He will not answer any questions. He keeps evoking the Fifth Amendment. So we got James Lankford. We got Peters. We got Ron Johnson. We've got Rand Paul. We've got Hassan. All these people that are asking questions of Fauci. And he says, yeah, I'm not going to answer. So how about those Mets?
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?